going to do a meta-analysis and then go from there. Whatever else happens will happen. So the other day, Kyle McCree released a video where he talked about how essential. Well, actually, why don't you talk to us about what the video was about in regards to Hero League?
Okay, so I'm actually just going to start a little bit on why I made the video.
Okay.
And it was kind of because I was watching some people. I was coaching a couple people, and I was watching some people, and I noticed that a lot of it was mainly the people that were around, like, I would say gold to platinum level. And when I would play with them, they would all be playing pretty well. They would be doing decent. They would be making calls here and there. And then I started noticing, like, when they streamed or when they showed me the replays, like, they were very careful about everything, to the point that they never even tried to do like 1v1s, or they never tried to like hold a zone for the last couple seconds needed to actually hold that zone. I thought that was really strange. So I got a message from a Grandmaster player, and he said essentially along the lines of, I feel like I'm getting worse and I can't find out why. And we saw that Reddit thread, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. Same deal as a Grandmaster player. He lost, like, I want to say 6,000 or 7,000 rank points. And he's like, I think I'm just worse at the game now. And so I thought that was kind of weird. And I was like, all right, let's start figuring out why these essentially, I mean, Grandmaster players are essentially pro players, even if they're not on a pro team. They're at the same level. They just might not have the commitment, the time commitment or something. So I'm like, why are they having trouble? So I started getting into, like, doing a little bit more research into sports psychology, and I started seeing a lot of common variables that happen in sports psychology as well as Heroes of the Storm. And that's why I made the video. Now, the video itself, I talk about how in Hero League, you might be getting worse by playing Hero League. And I explain that while most people think quick match is the reason that you get worse, which I think we can all agree that you can learn a lot of bad habits from quick match, I found that Hero League has a similar problem where you can get a lot of bad habits of not taking risks, which means you're not learning from the risks. Because if you take a risk and it pays off, you know that risk in the future might pay off. If you take a risk and it doesn't pay off, then you learn that you can't do that again. And if you do that again, you can get in trouble. So you need to actually learn those, because if you don't take any, again, it's kind of like you miss every shot you don't take. And that was the general idea of why I had that. And I had a secondary part of the video where I talked a little bit about the yips, which is kind of a big problem for pro athletes, especially in baseball. It's kind of a confidence issue where one small thing ruins your confidence, and from then on, you're second guessing everything that you do. So I kind of shoved both of those into a video, and that was, could Hero League be making you worse at the game?
Yeah, I remember, to use the yips part, Rick Ankiel was a really good pitcher for the Cardinals, and then in the playoffs he blew up. Like, he couldn't throw strikes, and then he couldn't ever throw strikes again. So it's always brutal to see that. So Bacon, you're the biggest Hero League grinder there is. What are your thoughts on what he said?
I wouldn't say that, just the past 2 weeks, but that's true, I guess. And the biggest mistake I made in the past week when I went on my big losing streak was continuing and forcing games and thinking, oh, I just need one win to change it all around. And I honestly, thinking back, I had the same mistake last season, because last season I grinded up to 4K, and then I grinded down back to like Diamond 1, and then then I grinded back up like the week before the season, and then back up to 5.8K. So like,
yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think taking a break is definitely one of the big things you need to do.
Knowing when you're tilting, and then just knowing, like, you sometimes you set aside, like, okay, if I do these things throughout the day, I'll have this many hours at the end of the night to play Hero League. And once you start, and then you find out yourself that you're tilted, it's kind of hard to just walk away, because, like, I set aside so much time to actually grind Hero League, and I can't do it because I'm playing like an ass. So, like, I fell into that trap, and I was just forcing games back to back, and obviously that was the worst decision I've ever made in the past 6 months regarding Hero League. And I guess I do recognize that, like, in that terms of my aggressive play, I think was just fine, but I feel like my my confidence was way shot, not thinking back to it. And I was not able to make the same plays as I was because I was in that negative loop cycle. And I don't know, I guess I agree with the video, but how do you fix it?
Yeah,
well,
I think
if I was throwing strikes like a baller and then I can't do it anymore, how do I do it again?
I do mention a little bit about that at the end of the video of I think taking break was one of the ways to kind of break it a lot, but that also leads into the tilt thing. And what LDAP said in chat as well is he thinks the video is an oversimplification. And I completely agree. I didn't really mean to say that is the thing that's causing losing streaks. What I'm saying is that this video is an idea of why Hero League possibly could be bad if you don't understand that these are some possible scenarios that could happen. But I do mention a little bit of how to break out of this cycle. I mean, for the yips, there's entire psychologists that they do their entire study to answer the yips. So to have me try to make a 5-minute video on how to answer the yips for yourself is not going to be something that I can do in 5 minutes. But what I can say is taking a break is very important. And I said I did a video about tilt, and I said pretty much set a rule for yourself. My rule was 2 losses in a row, I take a break. And
I set that rule.
Really...
I set it at 19.
At 19 losses in a row.
That was
take a little bit of a
recently made, but yeah, I set it at 19 in a row.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, well, I'll say that I really appreciate the video because we had this very legendary conversation on this show about be aggressive and how when I play with Bacon, I'm not aggressive enough. And I realized exactly why that is.
It is maddening.
I know, but I realized why it is. It's from his video that when I play with you, I play much more conservatively because it's at a much higher MMR level. And so I don't take as many risks. Thereby I make Bacon very upset. And so thanks to you, I've actually been able to realize what's happening.
Well, there's a difference between not being aggressive and then playing ETC like a Jaina backline. And, that's what I was upset about.
I think that also can be kind of challenging is when you do have like one person that's higher rank and they're playing with people that are lower rank, there is no perfect role that you can go, because if you go like tank, you can kind of set up the team and get them all going in positions where they need to go. But then you have the trouble of a lot of times people like they don't really want to follow up, or they might not wave clear enough, and then you play like an assassin and your tanks are a little skittish, and it's like, no, play like you normally would play. Like go in. I mean, at the end of the day, they might be slightly better, but the tank still needs to go in, and it could be kind of challenging to explain that.
So it seems like in our Discord that not a lot, but some people are kind of frustrated with the matches they've been getting to begin the season with, and that's because we still have the placement system. And I think next season that's going to be gone for the most part, right? If you've played enough games, then you won't have any more placements, or the number of placements will be far less. And it gets me thinking: is that the biggest thing that could be improved upon for Hero League is to remove the placement system? And then once that's gone, does that remove a lot of the criticisms that people have about Hero League in general?
I mean, I think Bacon might actually be better at answering this question than me, just because I know he plays more Hero League than I do. But I personally, and I believe from my understanding, the rule was essentially if you've played over 100, you may not have placements at all, which I think that would be pretty good, because ultimately, if you've played 100 games and there's a new season, I don't think your rank's going to change very much from last time, your MMR anyways. Your skill didn't drastically change in those 100 games, I mean, within that time. So, I mean, it definitely could have. I mean, like, at the end of those 100 games versus the new season, it could be a day difference. And if you get lucky with 10 games, you get unlucky with 10 games, you shouldn't be a whole tier up or down, and because your MMR is still about the same. But I think it'll definitely put us in the right direction. No one really likes placements unless they're trying to reset their rank. And for those,
but they got rid of that too.
Break. And they did actually. So I don't know. I'm a prominent fan of, if you feel like you're stuck, you need to change how you're thinking about it, and you need to adjust what you're doing, and you'll be able to move up. I've seen it so many times. I mean, in my Discord alone, I have probably over 15 or 16 people that are a good tier above where they were 5 months ago, and they just changed their mentality about it. So I'm a prominent fan of that. I've never been a huge fan of placements, and particularly, I'm one of the things that always, I mean, we hear this a lot from master players, but people that will just play their 10 placements and be done. And those people are the ones that a lot of master players complain about. I personally don't really mind that. Like it's I when they brag all the time about it, and you look at it and it's like they've only played 10 games all the time. It's like I could see how that's kind of a little annoying, but I don't really mind it. Like
it's not that they brag, is they suck.
Yeah, I mean that's but they only play 10 and they stop. So
they're
like,
poo-poo.
Okay, whatever. That's fine.
They're trash. Stinky cheese.
Nathan, you're tilting, man. Watch out.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't know if that's gonna. I'd actually really like to hear Bacon's thoughts on the 10 placements going away.
It's good because it's the natural progression or natural end to what the changes they've made before. A couple of seasons ago, they removed the ballooning of ranks, so that's the season, like 2 seasons ago, where we had platinum players all of a sudden placing Masters 1000, and they still really hasn't fixed that. And this is the problem of they got Masters 1000, they played their 10, and then the next season they played their 10 and was able to maintain a 50% win rate to stay Masters 1000, and they're still in my games this season. It's still happening, and they still suck.
Yeah, the first time actually that was 2 seasons ago when the placements had a lot of emphasis. Like your first 5 games could move you a good 3 tiers. My team league, I lost 5 games in team league. My team league had been like Master Diamond-ish every season. I lost the first 5 in team league, and then I lost like the next 3 because we were just trying really dumb stuff. I'm not kidding you. I'm like gold 5 in team league because that one season and just don't have enough time to grind that back up.
Oh, wow.
Well, one of the big issues too, especially the higher you go, is you get a bunch of players who are HGC players, literally HGC players whose MMR are so high, they could go 0-10 and they still get 50 adjustment points, every game for 100 games because their MMR is that sky high, and they don't give a shit about placement games. They sometimes don't try at all. They do troll comps. Like I've seen HGC players pick Murky with Tyrande and Abathur, and it's a shit show. And
I'm not going to call out any names, but that happened to me last season where during his 10 placements, he wasn't streaming during this time. He is on an HGC team right now, and he did that. He's like, I want to get my MMR lower, so I got to go against easier people because I'm always going to get Master 1K.
Yep. And if that means you only play, if the people that grind a lot only play 1 game, or they automatically get seeded into the next season, I mean, that's fine with me. Like, less throws.
Sorry, that someone in chat said for me to move my head because they wanted to see my painting. All right, so I have a question for NotParadox. So what if you had someone that you were coaching and he or she watches your videos, so they're definitely like a try-hard player or a very knowledgeable player, and obviously it's very specific to individual players, but like what if someone was like moving up and down a lot per season? Like, for example, they would play 300 games a season. They would either be the extreme would be like gold 5 and plat 4, and they keep rotating between that every season, like every what would you tell that? Yeah, every season. What would you tell him or her? Like, if you keep like moving so much, but you move up a little bit, but then you move back down again, and then you keep going. You're seesawing between the same spots. What would you tell that person?
I mean, if you're moving up and down really fast, like it's the hardest one is actually to find out if someone's not moving, because then okay, they probably deserve to be in that rank, or there's something that's causing them to stay in that rank. But if they're moving up and down really fast, to me, that usually says that they're good enough to win streak through a lot of things, but something's causing them to win to loss streak back down. And I would say that's probably a tilt issue. And the reason I would say that is just because if you're going to be moving up that fast, like say you go from like what you said, like gold 4 to plat 1, that means that you probably deserve to be in plat 1 or you wouldn't be winning that much. But the problem is something's causing you to go back down. And I would say that's probably a tilt issue where you're you don't realize it, but you tilt and then you start lose streaking and you don't take breaks. You don't have this, you don't have that. Because I wouldn't imagine, say for instance, you're in gold 4 and you start winning and you get up to like gold 2. Then you find that's where your challenge area is. You're not going to go back down to gold 4. You're just going to start having a 50% win rate around gold 2. So to see you go back down to gold 4, that means that there's something wrong. You're doing something way wrong. And that's why I would say it's probably tilt related.
Okay.
Too much toxicity. It's not just you anymore. You're like turning your whole team toxic by just being too negative.
What if this person only played like one style of hero, like they only played assassin or they only played tank or they only played support? How much of a role would that play, do you think?
I mean, if you are like still moving up and down that much, I don't think it would be that much different, but it could be like a shift in the meta as well. As we've seen, these seasons are usually like 3 months long, and we've seen shifts in the meta happen over the course of every month. So it could be something. I mean, we saw Bam Bam, for instance, right as Diablo got changed, he lost 6,000 rank points in like 3 days. So it's definitely possible for things like that to happen where you might main a specific role and the meta shifts. I think my Lucio win rate in one season was like 60 or 70%, and then by the next season it was like 25%. And it's just because Lucio, he lost so much healing, and despite the fact that I liked his play style, he just wasn't that good anymore, and he didn't really fit the meta that had like 1 or 2 dive heroes like a Genji or a Tracer. So you had to shift everything around like a Malfurion, or at that time I think we were running like, it was like the end of Rhaegar and the beginning of like Malfurions. And
that
so
exact
you do
thing
need to
happened to me,
adjust.
man. I was a Lucio main too.
Yeah, you definitely need to adjust a little bit.
Yeah, once you start mentioning how important the meta is, Bacon gets a boner every time.
Hey, you're a support main, right? NotParadox?
I am. Yeah, I'm a support.
Hell
main.
yeah.
I end up having
Dude, we got 5 hosts, 4 support mains. What the fuck?
This season BBJ knows. Like, I ended up in all of BBJ's games. Or, sorry, last season, because this is a new season. Last season, I ended up in, like, all of BBJ's games. So I didn't get to play support at all. Like, everyone's like, let BBJ support. I was like, fine, whatever. So I think I played, like, mage and tank, like, 90% of the last season.
Yeah, I'm a support main, or I play Thrall.
Or Thrall, yeah. I like Thrall as well, so good.
Damn, are we the same person?
We are actually the same.
You guys want to hold dicks?
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, it's called docking, man. Get it right.